Oh my God, you know it's hot when I'm drinking cold brew and I'm not drinking a normal cup of coffee. It is so hot. We've just hit basically the 4th of October and today is about 33 degrees. So I figured I'd stay inside, try and keep cool and do a review on the new E70 helmet from Eldorado. You've seen it in a few of my posts and I'm really, really excited to talk you through this helmet because honestly, it's definitely exceeded my expectations in a few key areas. So let's get into it. So before we get into it, there is one thing that I want to say, and that's one, a massive thank you to Eldorado for providing me with the helmet for the review and some gloves as well. I won't be covering the gloves in this review, but they did send me the helmet out free. But you know me, I'm being super, super honest about it. There's some really good stuff about this helmet and there's a few things that they can improve and I'm going to make sure I highlight those as well so that we can keep improving the quality of helmets like this, especially in the retro category. So this is the new E70 from Eldorado and it's smack bang in the middle of that retro inspired category. I'll run through a couple of key specs just so you know what we're dealing with and then we'll get into some of the things that I really like and some of the things that I think they can potentially improve on with this helmet. So it is ECE approved, so I'm in Australia. This is obviously totally road legal. It comes in at about $249, which is, you know, it's definitely not an expensive helmet. It's also not on the totally cheap end, but it's somewhere in the middle. It's not as expensive as it's what I think is its competitor in the Shoei Glampstar, which is a lot more than this, and also the Bell Bullet, which is a little bit more expensive as well. I don't know the Arai name, which I should look up. I'm going to look that up now because that's another competitor to this helmet. All right, I Googled it. It's called the Concept X. So that, again, is one of those retro-inspired lids in kind of this category. The things that I really, really love about this helmet, the wind noise is actually pretty good. I really genuinely expected this to be a loud lid. I expected this to be the type of lid that you would wear to and from the coffee shop on the weekend, sort of getting around, doing, you know, really sort of urban riding and nothing on the highway. But the type of riding I do is highway riding, so I decided to wear it to work one day, which I get up to about 100 on the highway and it was pretty good. One caveat that I will give for wind noise for me is that I wear earplugs all the time. It doesn't matter if I have an open face, whether I have a full face, whether my visor is up or down, whether I'm doing highway riding or town riding, whatever it is, I like my ears, I like hearing things, so I have ear protection in all the time. So I did try this helmet, obviously with ear protection, and I found it to be really, really good. A lot of helmets in this category and at this price point tend to leave something to be desired, especially around rain protection and wind noise. But I found the Eldorado to be really, really good in that category. So for wind noise, it gets a big thumbs up from me. It is ECE approved. That's something that's really, really important for Australian riders. Sometimes we see helmets online, especially overseas, and we just can't buy them here and we can't wear them because they're not road legal. But this is an Aussie helmet that you can wear on the road, which is awesome. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the visor and a little bit of the functionality. One thing I really, really loved is that this is super wide. You can see pretty much all the way around and a little bit further than most helmets, I would say. It's got a really, really wide viewport, and that's one of those really classic styling pieces, I guess, for the type of retro lid that this is. And for all intents and purposes, the visor's pretty good. It is a little bit on the lighter side, and you kind of expect that for the price point. There's no sort of ratcheting mechanism. It's kind of got about, you know, a half, I guess, stopping point there, and then it's got, you know, the full visor all the way up, and I tend to have it all the way up when I lift my visor up. I don't know why they have kind of this midway, I don't know, let me know if anyone actually uses this point. I just find it's always in my line of vision, and it's just a bit of an awkward spot to kind of leave your visor at. But it's got those sort of 3 points, I guess, obviously all the way down, that midpoint, and then all the way up. The locking mechanism is, I guess, less of a locking mechanism and more of a small clasp. And this is great in terms of keeping the wind out. It does actually do a fair bit. You can see it kind of clips in. And that was initially when I saw this helmet, that was something that I was really, really worried about. I thought, this thing's going to be loud and that clasp isn't going to pull the visor down to the point that you need it to. But it works pretty well, and I think that's also testament to the type of gasket that they've used on this. It's a pretty solid piece of rubber, and I think it really helps with the seal. The one thing that I think they could potentially improve on, but I can also see why they've made this design choice, but this tab here can be a little bit awkward to kind of lift up and down when you're riding. I tend to like a tab for the visor a little bit further around, but again, we're prioritizing the aesthetic of the helmet over function a lot of the time with retro lids, and so it was going to clash, I think, with these air vents here. So they've gone around to the side. It's not too bad, you definitely get used to it, but what I have found I've started to do is kind of unclip it a little bit with my hand, but when I pull it down, I kind of feel like I want to go from the middle of the visor, and then I just kind of make sure it snaps into place. So not a huge problem, but just a bit of a design decision, I think, that wasn't prioritizing function over the aesthetic. That's probably a good time to move on to a couple of the vents. So they've got your normal sort of chin vents here. These don't open and close, they're always open. And again, you kind of find this with the retro lid. They sort of make the design choice of, hey, we don't really want this to be clunky, especially on the inside of the chin bar. They kind of want to keep that nice and clean. And so the vents are always open. Same with these two, just at your forehead, they're always open. So letting a fair bit of air in. I haven't been hot in this helmet as of yet, but like I said, we're only just starting to get into summer now. So I'll let you know maybe on a YouTube short just how I'm going with a couple of these things. It's also got on the neck roll, it's got a little bit of ventilation here as well. So I'd say, although it's not the Venturi system that you normally see, that's probably helping to, you know, pull some of the heat out of the top. I'd say those vents probably run down the back there. Another thing that I was pretty surprised about, especially for a slightly more affordable price point, is that a lot of the interior is removable. So you can remove the cheek pads, you can remove sort of the part that sits on the top of your head. All of that can come out, which is pretty awesome. It means you can give it a good solid clean. It's not full leather, it's sort of that plaid kind of suede. It's got that suede feel to it, very similar to, I guess, a lot of the helmets in this price point. I found this to be pretty well wearing. I haven't had any sort of headaches or lines across my forehead or anything. It fits my head really, really well. And I've been, yeah, really impressed by just how soft the inside is. The chin strap's pretty good. It is a little bit on the lighter side. I think the D-rings are a little tiny bit light, but nothing too major to complain about. I just think they could have gone a little bit thicker on that material, but they definitely do the job. The other thing that I feel they probably could have done is, and if you've had a helmet like this, you'll kind of know why this can be a bit of a pain if you've had a helmet with and without this. So on a lot of these straps, they kind of have a keeper here at the end, and it just kind of keeps, well, kind of does what it says, right? It keeps this strap in place, and especially when you kind of want that chin strap to stay aligned with the thicker black strap, that definitely kind of helps keep it in position. So I've noticed a couple of times when I've gone to do my helmet up, those sort of brown parts can move away from the black strap that you're trying to tighten up. So that's just one of those things. I mean, you could probably easily add that in yourself, but I would like to see Eldorado add that as just a bit of a functional piece. I don't think it'd take too much to add, and I think it'd save just a little bit of fiddling around when you're trying to tighten the helmet up. So this wouldn't be a retro lid if you couldn't run some 100% goggles with it, or Biltwell, or whatever you want to put with it. So they have included in the box sort of, you can take these screws out, take the visor off, and you can kind of blank these little gaskets out as well. So you can run goggles with it, you can run your shades, or the visor that's included as well. I think it looks cool with all those options. I haven't tried it with my goggles yet. I'll definitely give it a try. I think the viewport's nice and wide, so my goggles would fit nicely in there. On that note, they've got 3 visors that you can purchase with this. So obviously the clear that I was provided with, you can get sort of a mid tint, I guess, and then a slightly darker tint again. I think that mid tint is definitely one that I would really, really like. Just so that, you know, you can wear it during the day and not have to kind of run your sunnies if you don't want to. Sometimes I like to have a slightly darker visor, and then I can just wear my glasses. Which brings me to another point. Wearing glasses or sunglasses with this, with the way that the interior is designed, is a little bit iffy, and it takes a bit to get used to. I think this is one thing that they need to really look at, especially because with retro lids like this, sunglasses, you know, they're pretty commonplace, and just where the sunglasses fit in, sort of on these 2 little dividers here, I've found it to be a little bit fiddly to get your sunglasses to align properly in that gap. So if you are a glasses wearer, that is something to keep in mind. Everyone knows how finicky helmets can be, so make sure you try this on in store and try your glasses on to make sure that they sit the way that you want them to. So all in all, first impressions from wearing this out for maybe 3 to 4 rides, 2 of those being on the highway, and fairly solid rides at that. I'm really impressed with this lid. I've got to say, I really am impressed, especially with the price point it's sitting at. The only thing I haven't really been able to do, which I normally like to cover in reviews, is wear this out in the rain. I just haven't worn it enough to, you know, basically be on the bike while it's raining with it. I can imagine that some of these vents are probably going to let a little bit of water in. I don't think the visor gasket is going to be quite that solid in torrential rain, but I'd say it'll probably keep a little bit of the water out if you're in, you know, maybe a small shower. But I'll definitely give an update. I'll probably do a YouTube short on that once I get caught in the rain with the Eldorado E70 on. So that's kind of it. That's pretty much what I wanted to cover. I really hope this has been helpful. If you're considering this lid and you're on the fence about it, I'd say definitely go out and grab it. It comes in 3 colors at the moment. So it comes in this gloss white that I've got, a matte black, and a gloss black as well. I'm sure they'll be extending the color range as they continue to build out the profile of this E70. It's really going to be a classic helmet in their lineup. If you've got any other questions, if there's anything I've missed, throw them in the comments below. You know I'll get on them. And as always, until next time, stay friendly, ride daily.